So if you've ever felt seduced by a negative mood or a bad mood or a situation, I think this could be helpful. I found myself in kind of a negative spiral. It was a combination of not enough money to do what I needed to do. There didn't feel like enough time to do what I needed to do. I hadn't received enough sleep to feel the way I wanted to feel. And I had a very negative loop that was kind of going. And this, for me, this could last a couple of hours, a couple of days, a couple of months. It could last a couple of years. And if if you're like that or you know people like that, it can last a lifetime. Like you could just live in that place. And I found myself one day in line at a grocery store behind this dude, and he was talking to the lady, and he said, well, I get the senior discount and I get the military discount. And oh, she's like, oh, okay, great, typing it in. And he was like, and I'm going to be 80 next week. And he just had this attitude that was just beautiful enough for me in that negative, shitty place. And I remembered a book I'd read called That You Can Choose Again. If you're in a place that you don't want to be, emotionally, you get to choose how you want to feel. And I just remember really noticing it and really zeroing in on how this guy was expressing in this moment, and how this was such a, he was emanating a way that I would have liked to have felt in that moment. And so I remember, he checked out, I checked out, and I sat in my car, and I just kind of sat with that. I was like, okay, I kind of want to live vicariously through this moment, through this other person. And I was able to shift out of that. And, that was able to take me through the rest of the day where, quite honestly, in other parts of my life, at other times, I could have been in this negative place for months, and it would have had so many detrimental effects. And, even to the extent that later that day, when I picked my son up at school, I had to talk to a teacher because there had been an incident, and what we needed to do was get to practice after that. And I just said, hey, look, man, I said, none of us are born knowing how to behave. We're learning it from teachers, from parents, from friends. And you can turn your day around at any minute. Like you can just choose right now to have a great practice, put the school day behind you. So and I attributed kind of that positive shift for me to just this senior veteran who was just kind of living in a dope place at the time. And I was able to just kind of get some of that from him. I didn't take anything from him. He didn't lose anything. He and I didn't even interact. And I recognize that energy is transferable in that way. Like I just needed that moment to be able to shift what could have ended up being like a 3 to 6 month negative turn. And it was able to kind of put me into a place where it enabled me to get into a place where I was able to shift, right? I wasn't leaning on these typical masculine coping mechanisms, which I'm not going to say are good or bad. Whether we lean on substance, screens, busying ourselves at work and hobbies. I was able to just be in the moment and say, this is how I'd rather feel. That led to, handling the money that I needed to be able to do things, and the debt and the time and freeing up time. It enabled me to be able to shift some of that stress so that sleep began to return to me. So really, when I feel like the negative emotions for me can be very seductive. I don't know if it's because I know them so well, but having a couple of things go a certain way, it can feel very sticky and very seductive to just kind of continue to slip down that path for me. And I think for a lot of men, I think for the masculine, that could be true maybe for everyone. But I think not responding to that seduction and recognizing that I get to choose at any moment how I want to feel is being able to take a more proactive step, right? So being able to work out, hit the gym, get a meditation or do some breathing or get out in the sun, just get into nature and being able to shift and recognize I get to choose how I want to feel. And I was able to just kind of vicariously glean some of that guy's energy, and that was a really big shift. And for me, like I said, a negative slip can turn into months of just a negative mindset, negative feeling, negative outcomes, and then negative interactions all around. because I do think that they can be very seductive. And I think the more proactive journey to get into more feeling good, we can hack our way in. There's tools, tricks, and hacks that we can